Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What is up, and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show. We are your fast break of college basketball information. I am your host, Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at FantasyNav. You can do your part in this endeavor. Scroll on over, give a little tippy tap to those like and subscribe buttons. And he is the captain of our ship. He is the most menomous of men. He is the original Money Mike. He is MC Holland34 on Twitter. He is Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, how you feeling on a Thursday?
I'm feeling good, but I'm exhausted from all the qualifiers that I've entered to get into this damn bracket bonanza. And I think I got one more shot. I'm not playing the 250 tomorrow night, but I think there's one more, I think on Saturday, that I will attack. I should have just kept max entering the big jams. But it's been fun trying to get that seat. I thought I was going to get it last night. I think I finished 10th out of 237. So yeah, man, it's just tough to win those things, man. You gotta get all 8 pieces. It feels like right now, 6 to 7 right now. Just can't get all 8. So hey, we're gonna try to do it on this one and break in some dough. Jay, my man, how are you tonight?
Styling, profiling, and straight wilding over here. We got 14 tickets punched to the dance, man. A few more have joined since the last time we talked. It's been some interesting stuff, some predictable stuff going on right now, like the Big Ten just being an absolute disappointment. Every lower seed, or higher seed, I should say, winning. And it doesn't matter. It's okay. It's the Big Ten. We all know what they're going to do come tournament time anyway. But yeah, man, we got the early slate. Talking a little early slate again, like we did the last time out on the DFS, Eric. And some intriguing stuff to talk about here as we get going, and a big money tournament going on as well in that early. This isn't November early slate action, guys. Right? No, this is big time stuff, and excited to be here to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, going back to those November early slates, you'd be looking at a $300 to first prize. We've got a $5K to first pull-up jumper tomorrow, and just when he thought he was out, we pulled him back in. Our guy Mike thought he was taking the slate off. No.
That's Money Mike.
Money. Is that the real Money Mike?
Other Money Mike.
The other Money Mike.
He's
okay.
firing at the early slate tomorrow. Fired up to try to punch his ticket, and got an old friend checking in, Kerry McAllister, with some weird hieroglyph that I can't translate. But we're happy you're here, Kerry. Appreciate you swinging through.
Salute.
That's what happens when
like you mentioned, Jay. A ton of teams have punched their tickets. We are in the thick of conference tournament season, so we are seeing teams make their way into the tournament left and right. One of the teams that has officially punched their ticket by way of winning the WCC tournament is your fighting Gonzaga Bulldogs, including senior guard Rasir Bolton. This Rasir Bolton, whose jersey we are giving away tomorrow on the live stream. If you want to get involved in that action, it's pretty straightforward. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, then get over to Twitter, get green screens on Twitter. Our pinned tweet is the one that you need to pay attention to. Hit that retweet button, tag in a couple of hoop heads in your life, and you're in the mix. If you're watching on YouTube, we also linked that there in the comments. So it should be pretty straightforward for you to get into that mix and get into drawing for this Rasir Bolton jersey. It's going to be down to the wire. So looking forward to getting this one out the door tomorrow. We're also looking forward to this slate. Like we've said a few times now, this is not your November early slate. We've got a 6-pack in store for us tomorrow. We've got the 5K to first big jam. Overall, most of these games look to be kind of bunched together. A lot of games in the mid 140s, a couple games in the 130s, and a 127 defensive matchup that includes Rutgers, which is a game that we always love, generally fading outright. But given the short slate, don't know if we can do it, given that they are facing off against Zach Edey and the Purdue Boilermakers. For this 6-game slate, going down a 3-game showcase. These are the 3 games that we are prioritizing most with our builds tomorrow. And that starts with the Tennessee Volunteers facing off against the Missouri Tigers. 146 implied total for this one. Ken Palm has it as a 77-69 nice victory for Tennessee. And we will start with the fighting Rick Barnes, 23-9 on the season, 11-7 in SEC play. Ken Palm has him as a 45th ranked offense. I was actually a little bit higher than I would have anticipated. We all know that they are a defensive outfit, number one in the country in that regard, and playing at a snail's pace, 280th in tempo. Mike, let's take a look at these volunteers. Which players are you prioritizing for the Vols?
Well, this team is easy. So we've finally gotten a team where it's just like there's a couple of guys, and that's it. Because if you want to spin this wheel underneath anything below 6,000, like good luck to you. If you hit on that, then my day's over. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's the big three guys that this team has to run through. Now that the guy Ziegler is done for the year, what a brutal injury that was. We'll look forward to seeing him back hopefully sometime next year. But I'll start with Jordan. I always want to say Jordan Josiah. It's Josiah Jordan James, Triple J, Mr. 6,200, Mr. Every time I play him, he goes for 18. Every time I don't play him, he goes for 33. Bit of a health struggle at points this year. Played him a lot last year. He was up into the 7K, almost 8K range early this year, as well as last year around this time. We were jamming him a ton. This guy just does a lot of things on the court. Usage rate for these guys are starting to climb a little bit now with Ziegler gone. He's got a 26% shot rate. He can do some rebounding, and grab a couple of steals, block a couple of shots, shooting 33% from three. Definitely someone that I am going to have in a lot of my lineups, as Rody agrees. And then Olivier Kamwa, who's 6,100. Hate saying his name. Man, he's a GPP target, especially against Missouri. Missouri is a flat-out awful against bigs. KJ Williams went nuclear the other day, and pretty much anytime you have a big going up against them, you'll want to try to get someone in. The problem is there's not really a skilled big. I mean, Kamwa's he's solid, but I just don't know that he can go for like a 35. So at 6,100, it's a short slate, right? This profiles nicely. Missouri, they're 363rd in opponent offensive rebounding percentage. So, a few putbacks available for him. Missouri's just a fantasy gold mine. So the fact that obviously Tennessee's projected to score 77 points tells you that, but it's just going to be really tough to figure it out. I really like James. Vescovi's price is a little bit too much. That's why I think, Kamwa here could get you a 20, 27, 28, and you'd feel pretty comfortable with a little over 4X there. So I'll be using him some, especially in stacks with James. Jay, am I doing it wrong? Missouri's terrible against the three, terrible against opponent assisted field goals. Maybe I should play a little more Vescovi. I just worry about his stealing. What are you doing with these three guys in general?
Last 6 games for Vescovi, 3-point attempts: 10, 9, 7, 9, 10, 8.
So I'm doing it wrong.
So what I'm saying is I get not maybe you look at 7.8K in this. This is the most expensive it's cost to roster him all season long. But what you're getting is we've seen the peak at 44. There was the 20-point game against South Carolina, fantasy point game, I should say, where he only ended up playing 25 minutes and shot the ball so poorly. Everything else, take that one out. That little guy, I wouldn't worry about that little guy. Other than that, in the last 5, you got 44, 33, 34, and 32. If he's hitting his threes, he's going to dish out some assists. He's going to pick up 5, 6, maybe 7 rebounds. He's shown double-digit rebound potential within his last 5 as well. I get maybe balking a little bit at this price, but if you want to get into this game, the highest projected total, he is the most expensive player for Tennessee, but what you're getting out of that is the floor already, and the ceiling is possible to help you win the whole damn thing. I'm in on Vescovi, obviously a little bit more than Mike is, but I could understand maybe shying away from that price. I just think on this short slate, 6-gamer, if this was a 12-game slate and, this total was, was hanging around in the middle, I'm not as in on Vescovi, I would say. But for the sake of this conversation, this 6-game slate, highest projected total on that slate. And like you said, Mike, Missouri is Garbaggio on the defensive side. I'm in on Vescovi.
I mean, Eric, he's got to be the safest floor play, like maybe on this entire slate. What are your thoughts on this Tennessee team?
Yeah, I mean, our guy just lives in the mid 30s, right? So at 7.8K, that's really solid floor. And like Jay mentioned, he's reached back and gone 40 plus. So you've got the ceiling that you're looking for with him, but also the environment is perfect, right? Like 218 attempts from 3 on the season is a pile, right? And now he's getting a Missouri team that is not only pacing them up, that is not only 195th in the country in defensive efficiency, but they're also particularly weak against the 3. So like how this game sets up for Vescovi. Kind of curious, there's really 3 names that are of interest here on the Tennessee side, being that they're getting paced up, being that Missouri is a little wobbly on the defensive side. Are you looking to stack up any of these pieces, or is Tennessee just a one-off approach?
No, I mean, for me, I don't know about you, Jay. I really like the James and Kamwa combination here, because I feel like a lot of people are going to go to Vescovi. That's what makes it scary. Is if Vescovi, he was 24% today. If he's going to be 40 or 50%, I'm just like, I get it. And raw points probably going to come into play here. So I don't know if he bombs though, and you just take out half the field and you get the points from James and Kamwa. Now this could blow up, right? Because you do have, like, they're just going to play a bunch of other dudes too, right? Like Julian Phillips is back. He plays mid-20s minutes. I mean, he's like 5,200. Sure, he could do something like Adu, like whatever. I think he's 5,100. Tyreek Key's going to get a little bit of a run. He's somewhat interesting if you want to get different in this game. I mean, you're right. They're going to score 77 points. Like, it feels like you need at least 2. But how many times have we been disappointed by a Tennessee offensive output too? So I get Missouri.
Only every time that they're on the field.
When they try to win by scoring 46.
Yeah,
I mean, but the thing is when if you go Triple J and Nakamura, like 12.3K for both of them in your lineup, I get that. I totally get it. I just think that if you're going to approach this, I think there's room to go both ways on this. Play some Vescovi on his own on the one-off on this side, and then make a stack with the other 2 cats. And run with it and see, maybe even pull another one from this Missouri side that we're about to talk about and really, get a lot of shares in this high projected total.
Yeah, not a whole lot of projected points on the board at all tomorrow across these 6 games. So definitely don't mind finding different ways to get into this one. The other side of this game are those Missouri Tigers, 23-8 on the season, 11-7 in conference play as well. Ken Palm likes them for their offense, 9th in offense efficiency. We already dogged on them for their defensive woes, 195th in that category, 83rd overall in tempo. So playing above average pace, certainly are doing the pacing up here, and they have a very tough matchup with the number 1 overall defense in the country. Mike, anything to like about these Missouri Tigers?
I mean, I guess 69 points implied, but oh man, like Tennessee's defense is just so good. I can't play Kobe Brown, but that means that he's going to somehow go for 40, right? Even if he does, there's just no way, right? Like, even if he goes into a 35 at 8,900, like, the price is already, like, the upside is gone essentially. I mean, there's no way he's going for. I say no way, so just go ahead and bet all your money on it. There's no way he goes for over 40. We'll see. I have more interest in the guards. Like Hodge, like has been so good recently, and he's 7,500. It's so annoying, like just so annoying. He can get to the free throw line. Look, Tennessee will give up a ton of threes. That's kind of their style, but they're first in the country in opponent 3-point percentage. So it's not like teams are making a lot of threes, which is why they're first in the country in defense, right? So I got to be real careful with rostering a Hodge. Taking a shot at some of the cheaper guys is just kind of annoying because it's kind of a spin the wheel type deal with Missouri all year, right? Like you've got Golston, Honor, East, Gamillion at times has popped up, and he's dirt cheap, but I don't even know if he's going to play. So I look at Honor, and he's probably the guy with the safest minutes that will be on the floor, but he's only got a 14% usage rate and a 14% shot rate. And I don't really want to play that against a Tennessee defense. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place for me. I haven't really played Golston a lot. He's been pretty good, Jay, in the last couple of games. But, I mean, there could be times where he just doesn't see the floor. And, I don't know. Are you willing to risk that and ride the hot hand? I mean, he's been out there, a decent amount of time. What's your take on Golston and Honor and some of these other guards?
Yeah, you mentioned the minutes being a little bit up and down. 3 of the last 5 he's played over 30, but then you get 16 and 24 minutes in there, and that's not going to get it done. Making the most out of your opportunities is what gets it done from a fantasy point perspective against Tennessee. And you mentioned the Honor's usage rate and shot rates being, in the 14s. Golston sits at 25% usage rate, 24% shot rate, 15% assist rate, and then little chippy chip with the 2% steals, and does shoot 34% from 3. Has been shooting a bit more of the threes lately. Hasn't hit a ton of them recently, but if I had to pick between Honor or Golston to get into this side of the matchup, I'm going to take Golston. I'm going to spend up $400 more and take Golston because I do feel like in this time of the year, trying to ride whatever the hottest hand is at the time. And Golston is that dude right now. This was out of all the games to end up 86-85 last time. This was what the last time these two teams played each other. It went into the mid 80s. Ziegler crush, of course, but we're without him now. So Golston had 18, Brown had 21 in that one. Vescovi had 16. Key had 23 in that one as well with JJJ out. But yeah, man, I think for me, I do want another piece of this game, and it's probably going to be Golston at 5,200.
Yeah, like that call a lot, Jay. Obviously this was a somewhat of a different look for the Tennessee side last time they matched up, but Golston went out and put up a 29 spot in terms of DK points last time that Missouri faced off against Tennessee, whereas Honor barely, technically less than 8 points, 7.75 points. So if past is prologue, there seems to be some things working in Golston's favor. Before we move off this game, we got our guy, Jody, checking in. He's ready to burn the midnight oil. We sleep in April. It's also got some thoughts about Kobe's price being a little bit of a weird spot given the studs on the slate and going up against the top D, right? So, definitely a lot of the themes that we talked about with this Tennessee side. It's also liking the way that Triple J is heating up for tourney time. So definitely feels like Jody is plugged in. He's ready to ride down this stretch run.
I got one last question for y'all on this before we move on. Eric, I'll start with you. This game, no way it goes back into the mid 80s, right? Like, there's a chance this game goes under. So, this is why this is a tough game to to stack around. Other than you kind of know what Vescovi's going to give you. You feel like what Triple J is going to give you. And then you don't really know who on Missouri is going to, kind of be that guy. Because Sean East was that guy last time with 17 points. Golston had 18. I don't know. Is there any chance this game goes over 146 again? Eric?
I guess a chance, right? To look at what they did last time out, right? They pushed for 170 points. Yes, that's the outlier, but these teams can clearly square off against one another. I feel like realistically we're probably looking at an under, just given the strength of Tennessee's defense overall and just their propensity to play, sub 100 point games even, right? So, 170 feels much more like the outlier than 100 would, but I think this one probably, put differently, I think this is a good number. I think the low 140s is where this will land.
And when you're looking at the rest of these totals, this is 146, Temple Cincinnati is 143. Ohio State, Michigan State's 141. East Carolina, Houston is 134. Mississippi State, Alabama is 134. Rutgers, Purdue, 127. Even if Tennessee goes, even if it does get to the mid 130s, I mean, I don't know if Houston and East Carolina is going to go over that number. Alabama and Mississippi State might, but I still like the total that they'll end up at, even if it goes a little bit under here. Just based off of the other games that are on this slate, I'm going to be involved.
The pricing is nice too. Like
exactly, I'm going to be involved with this game for a number of reasons. But the pricing is definitely it is. But hey, that's the thing though, right? Like, get at it different ways. But I do think that one way to approach this is by really attacking this first game.
Yeah, definitely some solid points per dollar options there on the Mizzou side for sure. We will cruise on over to the AAC. Our second showcase game features the Temple Owls facing off against the Cincinnati Bearcats. Ken Palm has this one as a 143-point total, with Temple favored 74-69. Double nice. Temple comes in 16-15 on the season, 10-8 in AAC play. Ken Palm likes them as the 122nd ranked offense, the 112th ranked defense, and playing pretty slow, 251st in tempo. Mike, let's start with you. Taking a look at these Owls, feel like they're generally pretty reasonably priced. Is one of them kind of catching your eye more than the others?
Man, is this the last time I have to play Temple? Because the AAC Sunday slates has just been so annoying. It should be a little bit easier with Khalif Battle pulling the Trey Mitchell / name whatever the Andre Carbello, name whatever player that's like sitting out the last few games and that's going to enter the transfer portal as soon as the season ends. So it makes it a little bit easier because he's not around shooting 5,000 shots. Those are all going to go to Damian Dunn, who is already shooting 2,500 shots a game. So the prices ticked up on Dunn. High usage player, it's 26% usage. Nice little assist rate now, 36% from three. Cincinnati's decent defensively, right? Like there's not like a huge glaring hole. They'll give up some assisted field goals. It feels like Dunn is kind of in a similar spot to Vescovi, where floor is really nice, ceiling, like everything kind of has to go right to get to 40. I don't know. It just really depends on roster construction, right? And there's some stars on the slate too, like that we'll kind of talk about that aren't really in our showcase games, so that people are going to want to get to, even though it might not be the best spots. So, he's intriguing. I'll have a little bit of him. I'm more interested in Heiser Miller. Burned me last time at the 18 spot, but the usage is going up. 23% assist rate, so you like that. Shoot some threes. He's flashed to getting to 30 fantasy points, pretty regularly since Battle's been out. I don't think anybody's going to play him, just looking at kind of, how he's been over the last couple of games. So I'm going to have some Miller in there. Jalil White, you can save a little more coin, and he's just basically playing 30 minutes, and he does everything, right? I usually don't like playing guys with a 13% shot rate, but he's someone that grabs boards, can get some assists, block some shots. So his price has never really ticked over 5K, so I'm still willing to play him in a decent matchup here, a decent total where there's not a ton of fantasy points projected on this slate. So I'll have some Jalil White here. Jody in the comments, Vanderbilt won. Like our guy Eric, literally just willing this team into the NCAA tournament.
Let's go Commodores!
Oh man, just I had to shout that out real quick in the middle of this Temple breakdown. The other bigs like Hicks and Jourdain, I don't know if I have too much interest because all my interest is in the guards here. So I don't know, Jay, what's your take on spinning the wheel on the three guards, and then you have an interest between Hicks or Jourdain?
Dunn's price it scares me a little bit, the volatility there. But again, if you're trying to win the big one, and of course, we are. Dunn's ceiling is at 7.7K. When you look at the 48 fantasy point game just 3 games ago, it's intriguing. But other than that, I don't know that I'm going to spend a lot of time on the guards. And I don't know if I'm going to spend outside of Dunn. I don't know how many shares I'll have in Temple. Jordan is somebody, it's just okay, I guess, right? Like if you're going to try to pivot off of Dunn or pivot off of some of these higher price guys, like I could see it. 17% usage rate, doesn't fly off the page. 15% shot rate, does get some boards. 8, 9, 5, 6, 7 boards in the last 5. So the rebounding is there. Does get a block here and there too. So can chip in some of the some of those statistics. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't. I'm not just like exuding confidence about Jordan in this spot. I think Dunn is a nice play here, but I'm not really touching anybody else for Temple.
Yeah, you look at Jordan, and he's been pretty consistent in kind of the mid to upper 20s range. That's what you're looking for out of a mid 5K player. And generally speaking, he's a board or 2 away from a double-double, right? So he gets another, cleans up 1 or 2 more boards, and he's really exploding in terms of points per dollar value. And I kind of like how Damian Dunn sets up. 7.7 is scary. That 48 burger was last time against Cincinnati. Obviously, each game is different onto itself, but the way that he profiles for this game, he dishes out some dimes pretty well. 21% assist rate. Cincinnati is 153rd in opponent assist to field goal made. So, that should be a position for him to get another dime or 2. Those are really the 2 names that jump out to me, given that we've seen the upside for Dunn and given that Jordan's is just right there, right? One more board and he is exploding.
Here's a weird play here. We could pull up his profile here. Jamal Reynolds, earlier in the year, had some, right? And then injury and in 19 minutes, but it's against Tulane, who just flies up and down the floor, 5 blocks. I don't know. I can't pay $5,700 for someone that's going to play 19 to 20 minutes, right? So I like the guards in this one because they profile a little bit better. Like you saw, you talked about how well Dunn played. Well, Miller had a nice game too. So both of them did. And guess who didn't? Jordan didn't have a great game in their last matchup. If you look at Reynolds here, played 21 minutes, which is in the most in these played in his last 5. He did score 11 points, but he didn't do much else against Cincinnati. And it was at Cincinnati. I get it. Right? Every game takes on to itself, but only 16 fantasy points. So really the guards were just kind of chopping up Cincinnati here. So, I have more interest. I like Miller the best. I like Dunn right after that. He's just Dunn is like a Vescovi play to me, right? And I feel like a lot of people, when they go to this slate, those are 2 guys that are like, oh man, if I'm not going to pay, the ridiculous price tags for some of the top guys, they're gonna be some of the first names clicked. So, you can get some leverage on the field. I feel like so. I just wanted to point that out before we move over to the other side.
Yeah, looking at Reynolds, it seems like his ceiling games are when he's really being aggressive in terms of trying to score the basketball, right? All of those games where he's popping off for a 38, for a 29, for a 26, that's where he's taking double-digit shot attempts, and that's hard to do if you're playing less than 20 minutes, right? Basically, every time the ball gets near you, you've decided that you're going to shoot. So
that's like Khalif Battle.
Maybe he sticks to it, but you're banking on a very low usage player just chucking up a shot every time that he gets it, and then they have to go in, right? You mentioned those 5 blocks. He's not a prolific blocker, right? That was definitely an outlier, but if you want to spin the wheel, it is a way to get into the Temple Owls. We will get into the other side of this matchup. That is your Cincinnati Bearcats, 20-11 overall, 11-7 in AAC play. Ken Palm has them rated 55th in offensive efficiency, 76th in defensive efficiency, and about league average in pace, 130th in tempo. Coming in, feels like Feels like there are a couple of guys that we've been sort of hot and cold on all throughout the season. Feels like pricing is kind of all over the place. A couple of guys getting a haircut, a couple of guys seeing that number going up. Mike, how are you making sense of the Cincinnati side?
Well, it was always fade Landers Nolly, and that didn't work out a few weeks ago when he was like 3-4 weeks ago when he was going absolutely nuclear, and I kept missing his little 40 fantasy point games. Kind of come back down to earth before last game, where he was living in the kind of the 20s. So that kind of worked out, and then he went off for almost 40 again. So he's 8,500. The usage rate is nice. I mean, he does some rebounding, can obviously hand out some dimes there, but he's shooting 42% from three. But I think the thing for me is like it used to be like, man, what's like how much is DeJulius and Lock-in, right? Because those are kind of the guys that I've always been playing. But now David DeJulius is 8,200. Like that's annoying. I don't know that I can play that. Just having played him at mid 6s and 7s, right? I mean, Cincinnati here. Look. Defensive wise, like Temple, they're 112th in the country, so not a top 100 defense. You like you like some of the profiles here, like the 30% assist rate just kind of jumps out at you. The fact that Temple turns the ball over a ton, they're 285th in the country in turnover percentage. It feels like there's going to be some extra steals that kind of go out there. So I like the Bearcats side. I just am annoyed at the price of Nolly. And DeJulius, who's kind of joined him in this 8K range. So, yeah, I mean, DeJulius can get to the free throw line, and that's something Temple struggles with is fouling. They're also 196 in opponent-assisted field goals made. So, yeah, this game profiles nicely to DeJulius, but he's 8,200. Jeremiah Davenport, like, I can't get him right because, one, I don't know if he's going to play 23 minutes or if he's going to play 31 minutes. And he's not really a guy that's going to completely have like a huge ceiling. Now he's gone off a few spots. So if you're playing that large field and you want to do something completely crazy that is low owns, like, stacking him with DeJulius is a way to, kind of be different in this spot. Handing out those assists to Davenport on those threes. I think my favorite play points per dollar wise is going to be Micah Adams Woods. He's 5,700, almost a 20% assist rate. He does shoot 33% from three. Kind of ticking back up. The minutes are there, right? It's just can we get the production from him? Jody's bringing up Odi Oguama and Dan Skillings, but I don't know, man. It feels like Nolly, DeJulius, like Micah Adams Woods, and then I even talked about Victor Lock-in, who's been. I don't know. Like at one point, it was like Victor Lock-in's how much? Like, okay, like why are we just not playing him because he's going to drop 40? Jay, like, what are we doing here with Lock-in?
Well, we've seen 40 fantasy points twice this year out of him. We've seen 35 7 times. So we definitely know that the ceiling is there at 7.2K. 35 fantasy points, like. That's I could ride with that a little bit. He is, he still hasn't gotten back into playing his, high 20s, low 30s in minutes since he came back from the ankle injury. But that's the thing that's scary, right? He's been super efficient. He hasn't hardly missed any shots since he's come back at all. The rebounds have ticked up, in the past couple of games since he's gotten back.
This is for your season, right, Jay?
Of points, right?
This is for their season. How does he not play 35 here?
That's the main reason that I'm in on him is because the Bearcats don't have another choice. Like, if they're gonna play again, he has to have a great game. 22% usage percentage, 22% shot rate, 34% combined rebound rate, 5% block, 2% steal rate. Does a little bit of everything. Again. Don't look at the game log. You know where the upside is. It's with Lock-in. If he's on the floor for 30 minutes, 28 minutes even, I'll take, somewhere in that range. But the ceiling is so enticing at 7.2K. You just got to play, Mike. I mean, it's frustrating, but I'm hoping that it's okay. Working him back from this ankle injury and slowly, and just not. It's not time for that anymore. Like he's either a go or he's not.
Yeah, and the thing and look, 4 fouls in 19 minutes, right? So a little bit of foul trouble, but then they blew SMU out by 23 points, right? So we don't even know. Would he have played 28 to 30 minutes in a tight game? It feels like he would. Like, I don't know why you're going to roll out Odie out there, and I just don't know. This feels like, I don't know, if I'm playing, I'm going to play the best. If I'm the coach, I'm going to play the best guys like 35 minutes in this game because
it's worth
you have to advance. Like,
it's worth mentioning, too, that he fouled out against Temple the last time they played, and that was his first game back from that injury.
The 20 fantasy points in 20 minutes.
But exactly, the point per minute production. Get him on the court, man. Like, Eric, we got to get Lockett on the court.
Yeah, I think the thing that you said that's interesting, you said don't look at the box score. And we know that's not a thing. We know people love looking at the box score, and they're going to see some pretty piss-poor outings out there, and it's going to keep them off of lock-in. And among all the Bearcats, this game sets up beautifully for him, right? I mean, you mentioned his 34% combined rebound rate. That is absolutely elite. But also, Mike, you touched earlier when you were talking about your guys, the Temple side, 214th in opponent offensive free throw rate. Our guy Lock-in is out here getting to the stripe left, right, 103 attempts from the free throw line this year. So should be able to get those freebies at the line. He can chip and he can dip, right? We like those block and assist, or those block and steal rates, I should say. So, for a player that is going to be largely overlooked, it feels like his individual matchup is probably the best among the Bearcats. Also, sounds like Jody's a little bit more bullish on these Bearcats than KenPom is, right? KenPom has them as a 5-point underdog. Sounds like Jody's thinking that Cincinnati is going to be pretty well in control of this one. So definitely need to watch those rotations. But I tend to agree with the two of you that this is for their season. They need to get the best out of their best players. So I like this one to set up for Lock-in to get a bit more run.
If he plays 35 minutes.
Yeah. Like, if he plays 35 minutes and people are off of him because of his last 4, like, you're in. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Will it pan out that way? I mean, it makes so much sense, right?
How many times have we been here talking about if coaches just did the logical thing, right?
Hey, at least our boy Mike Anderson let Davy Jones chuck a gazillion times today, and that's what did them in overtime.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta ride with the ones that brought you there. So appreciate Mike Anderson going out with letting Dave Jones just spray from everywhere. We will move to our third showcase game. Before we do, if you're checking in on YouTube, do your part, man. You already did the hard part. You found us. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Also, let us know in the comments what you think about the first 2 games that we broke down, which plays you like, which plays you don't. Also, drop any questions in there. We'll flash those up on the screen and keep the conversation going with the guys. Our third showcase game features the beloved Big Ten. Ohio State Buckeyes, Michigan State Wolverines. KenPom likes this to be a 141-point game. 72-69, triple nice in favor of Michigan State. We will start with our underdog, the Ohio State Buckeyes, at 15-18 overall, 5-15 in conference play. KenPom has them ranked 22nd in regard to their offense efficiency, 106th in defensive, playing pretty slow, 241st in pace. Basically, everybody on this team is either mid-tier. Actually, basically everybody on this team that we're looking at is in the mid-tier, full stop. Any of them jumping out a little bit more for you, Mike, than the others?
Well, I had Cincinnati today, and at the end of the game, he was on the bench, and they were saying he was looking at his, I think it was his ankles. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that a little bit more. Nothing really popping up, at least that I saw in the quick little, as I was typing everything up for him. But yeah, I don't know if it's 8K. Like, this game was ugly last time this game played, like, atrocious. I think we have the score pulled up here. It was what was the score last time these guys played? It was actually 78-84. Okay, it was the time before that. I think it was just an absolute ugly game. So, yeah, there it is, 41-62. So
41-62.
This is exactly what I'm talking about in the Tennessee game.
Yeah.
I mean, Ken Palm's projecting 141. Ohio State, man, fire Chris Holtmann, right? Even though he's got an awesome young core of players, and Bryce Sensabaugh happens to be one of them. I don't know if I can pay this, especially if he's going to be nicked up a little bit. Suing is kind of out of control right now, but he's going to be on the floor for them. So at 7,300, he hasn't been playing great, but he's playing 34 minutes. It's annoying to play him at that price because how many times have we been burned this year by him? And yeah, could he flash for a 35? Obviously, so he has to be in the player pool. I'm a little intrigued by Bruce Thornton at 5,800. Man, this kid's going to be dynamite next year, and we'll be playing him at probably 7,500. As we kind of get through the midway of the season. So, at 5,800, unleash him, right? 32 and a 26 and a 28 the last three, and the price is slowly ticking up, right? So yeah, I could have some shares of Thornton here. Okpara at 4,500. I don't think I can. I can't go there. Roddy Gale is somewhat interesting at 3,500. The last couple of games, talk about a kid who's going to be really good. I think next year. A 2% block and steal rate, a 10% assist rate, only a 15% usage rate. You spike that usage rate up next year. It feels like this kid's going to be living in the 20s and mid-20s and low 30s in fantasy points if he plays 30 minutes a game. But we're talking about this year. He has been playing low 20s in the last couple of games. Yeah, he's okay. More of I find myself with $3,700 left. Who can I play? And it's okay, there's Roddy Gale, right? Let's just play him, and hopefully you get a 16 or 17 again. So he's in the player pool as well. I like the guys with solid assist rates, but the problem with Ohio State and the problem that we profiled in the offseason, we talked to Adam Jardy about this. It was who's playing point guard this year? It's kind of a mess. Bruce Thornton is your point guard. You go out and get Ice from Oklahoma State, and he's not really a point guard. He's more like a fullback playing the 2-3 role. So, yeah, this team's kind of a mess. Sean McNeil, I've been playing him, Jay, at the last 2-3 slates. He's been I think 30, 38, 3,900, 4,000. So, yeah, man, a lot of options on this team, which is annoying for a team that's projected to score 69 fantasy points. So this is more of a one-off team, I feel like. Even though the pricing could allow you to get to two players. Are you getting into McNeil a little bit here? And
you could get to two players here with Ohio State. You definitely could get to two players if you wanted to. You talked about not really knowing, when we're spinning the wheel, which player is going to step up. We talk about assists on this team. Sensabaugh, 11% assist rate. Suing, 11% assist rate. Thornton, like you said, he's sort of the, I guess if you want to call him the figurehead of the point guards, 15% assist rate. And then Roddy Gale, 10%. Who's getting the dimes? Who's dishing them out? I don't know. But what I do know is that Sean McNeil is going to sit out on that perimeter and catch those dribble, dive, and dish. He's hitting 38% of those threes this year, 152 attempts, and he shoots about 5 or 6 a game on average. So somebody that's playing, 34, 35, 31, 28 type of minutes and is going to shoot 5, 6, maybe 7 threes in a game, in a slate where there aren't too many high totals. And even if this does, again, go under a little bit, there's going to be some points scored in this matchup. McNeil's price is going up a little bit, like you mentioned, Mike, but he's been more expensive than this in the last, month or so. So I like the price. I like this. This is sort of a bargain for me at 4.3K. And if you are wanting to get, I'm not going to double dip on this side. I won't, but I like McNeil. You mentioned if I got 3,500 laying around, there's Gale. If you can fit McNeil into your lineup, it's $800 more expensive than Gale. I like the Gale play at that price, but spend up a little more. Know the minutes that you're going to get. Know the 3-point attempts that you're going to get, and ride with McNeil. I like that play.
Hey, Eric, Jody's in the comments riding for wishbone fullback, Ice Likely. Pull up his profile, and I I was just burned by him the other day after he went nuclear against the same team that they were playing. I think it was Wisconsin. He went off against Wisconsin, and I think it was their final home game, and then it didn't quite get there. So I don't know. Like, he can get there. He can get to 20. That's the same with all these guys, right? Like, under 4K and this type of slate, like, you will take a 16, 17, 18, and then you will freaking absolutely do a backflip if you get to 20. The problem is I stare at the 17 and the 12 minutes, and the fullback here is going to have to grab rebounds. He's going to have to hand out some dimes. He's going to have to make some things happen on the defensive side. Because the ball is not going to be shot near the hoop, which has basically been his career. His stat lines are some of the craziest over the last 3-4 years that I've ever seen. So, if you want to go there, you can. He's part of the spin the wheel at the bottom of the barrel for Ohio State, and you pray they don't score 50 real life points against Michigan State tomorrow.
It could happen.
I mean,
this is the Big Ten, guys. It could happen.
Anything is possible in the Big Ten, except for getting out of the first weekend. We will move over to the other side of this Big Ten matchup. The Michigan State Spartans of 19-11 on the season, 11-8 in conference play. Look pretty well in terms of their macros. 35th offensively, 38th defensively, playing at a snail's pace, as we know Tom Izzo loves to do. 297th in tempo. Pricing on this one feels about as annoying as some of the other teams that we've talked about so far. Are any of them at least passable for you, Mike, or are you kind of turning away from this side?
I mean, it's annoying. Like, I don't want to pay $8,100 for AJ Ogard. I mean, God, this is like David DeJulius, like, all over again. Like, just with a worse jump shot and a higher assist rate. It's basically what you're paying for in Hogard. And then you have to worry about Tyson Walker, who you've been riding, Eric, to some a couple of ridiculous games there, and now he's up to 7,400. So, I mean, I guess, like, if I had to pick between the two, if you want to play it safe, you go with Walker. If you're trying to break the slate, I guess you play Hogard, right? So, Hauser had a nice game against this team. Man, I don't know. Like, he just doesn't do anything defensively. So, like, he has to get, like, his little 15 points and 12 rebounds, and everything just kind of has to go right for him to hit, his 30 fantasy points. And then there's some times where you're paying $7,600 and he doesn't even get to 30. Like, it's just, I don't know that I can pay $7,600. It doesn't feel great. If I'm going to pay, I would much rather just save, was that $2,200 and play Malik Hall and just hope Malik Hall just has one of those Malik Hall games where he plays. He's basically the Ice Likely that plays 25 minutes, except he can actually shoot the ball a little bit, but then he can absolutely just get benched by Izzo. And every once in a while, right? It's like a full moon. He shows up and he'll score. He'll knock down a big game at this random price point that he seems to never go up or down from. So, I mean, it's not going to feel fun. This is a large field. You're more just trying to essentially, be different in that state. Jay Nickens, kind of interesting, but there's these 5 guys like I don't know, man. What's your take on all these guards? And Aiken's interesting for you at all?
I like Walker the most out of these guards, especially at that price. I think you mentioned Hogard being able to break the slate. I mean, Walker's shown the 45 fantasy point upside within the last 3. I think at 7.4K, even the living in the low 30s like he has been, it's definitely something to consider. Aikens, on the other hand, not going to get as much attention. You look at the game logs, the last 5, 18, 22, 27's nice, but 20 and 20 just sort of just seems like that slow and steady, consistent, like I want to cash, but I'm probably not going to win the whole damn tournament sort of a play. But the 3-point shooting is that if he shoots, because he likes to live in those 3 or 4 threes a game, right? Well, against Nebraska the other night, he shot 9 threes. If you're living in that range, if you're living in that world, he does have the 22% shot rate, 19% usage, good enough. This is just one of those plays where in bigger tournaments, it's the type of play at 5,500 where if Akins does shoot 9 threes and he hits 7 of them, and then, again, chips in with a steal or 2, grabs a couple of boards, it's going to be a big-time play in this setting for Akins. But I do like Walker a lot on the Michigan State side of the ball as well.
Yeah, he's got to catch fire. I mean, if he hits 7 threes, we're getting paid because he ain't going to be owned. So,
right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's the opportunities are there, right? Like he's playing in the high 20s, low 30s in minutes. Akins we're talking about here. Like it's there. It's worth a shot. It's worth putting him onto a couple of your lineups and seeing if he can, catch lightning in a bottle because
same as Malik Hall.
Yeah, Hall's the same way. Absolutely.
Lightning in a bottle. Right.
I mean, it's a difficult prospect catching lightning in a bottle. I don't know if either of you have tried it.
I'm a genie in a bottle,
and it usually hurts. And I think Jody's got the read on
about
all
rubbing
it. He's talking about the rotations here. He's talking about how this team just kind of plods along, and there's a bunch of guys that are sitting right around 20 fantasy points a night, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just if one can separate one of them in the tournament.
Pick the right one, right?
I mean,
find one.
It feels like there's the upside's not there for pretty much everyone other than
Hogard,
right?
I mean, it's there.
Walker.
You just have to dig very deep.
Yeah. I mean, what you have to do is you have to max enter and you have to balance your exposures basically, which we're not above doing, right? That's
no, we are not
a tried and true.
That's what I was
strategy.
making a ton of money earlier this year.
The other part of our strategy is rounding out the rest of this player pool. We've talked about our 3 showcase games, but because it's such a short slate, 6 games in total, we want to give you the key plays from the remaining 3 games to round out the player pool. Let's start with the East Carolina game playing against Houston. This one only has a 134-point implied total. 76-57 Houston at East Carolina last time these two faced off. And I will start off with Juwan Roberts, 7.8K. Like I said, with a few players before, everyone is going to look at those game logs. They're going to see 13 and 15 staring them in the face in his last 2 games. If they look a little further, they're going to see a solid stretch of mid-40s performance, including a 43-point game in that low-scoring affair against East Carolina last time out. So I like Juwan Roberts here from this ECU Houston side. Jay, moving over to you, who's catching your eye from this 4th game that we're breaking down here?
So Houston is obviously a very intriguing team to watch. Not only watch, but it's a good team, right? But from a fantasy perspective, especially in this matchup against those Pirates, Sasser's there, obviously, but I'm going to look at Tremont Mark at 6.8K here. The upside of 37 that we've seen within the last 5, it was against East Carolina the last time that they matched up. You can see 32, 37, and 30 in the last 5 games, fantasy point wise, for Mark. And at that price, it's super intriguing. And Sasser is, the guy that everybody talks about on that team. But Tremont Mark is really he's sort of like the forgotten guard on this roster. So it makes for an interesting play here because, again, when we're trying to get a little bit different, I know that the price is sort of ripe with how he's been playing because people are going to be paying attention to those game logs, like we said. But I like this play. I like Mark a lot in this spot against East Carolina. You hope things don't get super out of hand, right, in this game for the Cougars. But I like Mark in this spot.
Mike, what about you? Are you going to sweep it with some Houston love, or are you moving over to the ECU side for your pick?
Sweep it like that as a AAC awards. That's another reason Tremont Mark was left off of. They basically gave an award to every single Houston player but Mark.
Except Mark.
That was amazing. Like I laughed so hard when I saw that list. I'm like, what are we doing? And they gave out some sportsmanship awards to everyone else.
Yeah, they could have just thrown Mark a bone there and like gave him like the something. You know, the only guy on this whole team basically to not get a freaking postseason award, and it's just like, how do you go back into? I mean, I'm sure he'll get ribbed about it, but good player, play him anyway.
He's getting absolutely knifed up about this in the locker room.
Dude.
Yeah, but that's all the more reason for him to go out and just smash East Carolina.
Yeah, exactly, and they're going to score 70 to 80 points, right? Because East Carolina likes to get up and down, and so playing two Houston players. I mean, we didn't talk about Jarius Walker, and we talked a little bit about Sasser. I'm kind of off of him just because of his price tag. But I like Shed too. I mean, he's $100 more than Mark, and I think a lot of people probably go there, which makes Mark. I don't know. It depends on if people are looking at that ECU game. Like maybe Shed becomes less popular. So I like both of them, but the guy that I'm going to target, and it's absolutely disastrous. I don't even know why I'm going to say this, but he played 35 minutes last game. And I don't know that means anything, but the fact that someone could be on the court for 35 minutes and you only have to pay $100 for every minute that the guy's on the court in his salary.
Minute per salary ratio is pretty excellent.
Next level.
Legend about, like,
elite.
Dude, this guy is just an elite name too, like absolutely elite. And like if you're just trying to be different and you need to save some salary and you don't want to play Roddy Gale and you just want to get crazy because there's 1,400 teams and you think maybe he could trip over a couple extra rebounds and maybe Houston could be kind enough to let him block one extra shot, you could get 16 to 17 fantasy points out of this guy at 3,500. Or you could play 7 minutes and we can cut this tape back and just throw it away for all time. But he did play 35 minutes last time, so let's move on before I don't want to talk about the boat anymore.
Ludgy.
Our guy Ludgy. We will move on to the fifth game on this slate. Also 134-point total. The soon-to-be fighting Chris Beards of Mississippi State facing the number.
Ole Miss, bro. Wrong team. Wrong Mississippi.
Ole Miss. Wrong Burgundy.
Wrong South team.
Alabama is their opponent in this one. The only time they faced off this year, 78-64 in favor of Alabama. I'm going to start off with the runner-up for our Price King conversation. That is Brandon Miller coming in at 9,500. I mean, for me, like if you take out that 65-point explosion from a few games back, feels like he's living in the mid 30s a little bit too much for a guy that you're paying 9.5K for. But in reality, I mean, this is a short enough slate with low enough scoring games to where raw points are going to matter, right? So if you're looking for a pivot off of the true Price King, Zach Edey, if you're looking for a way to lock in, mid 30s points with, obviously explosive upside, Brandon Miller is a way to do it. Given that we are playing on such a short slate. Jay, bouncing over to you. Looks like you've got someone from the Mississippi State side that is catching your eye.
Yeah, I need Miller's price to be patted down a little bit before I decided to invest in him. Though I'm going to go with DJ Jeffries here from Mississippi State, 6,400. 24 fantasy points the last time they played Alabama. But the 35-point ceiling recently is super nice. Love to see that here. The last time out, they only scored 64 against Alabama at home. It doesn't really give you a ton of confidence to play Mississippi State here. But Jeffries at that price, I think it's worth a couple of shots here and there, especially if you can get him in that 26 to 30 range and end up at that 4x, 5-ish, 4.5x maybe. I think you take it in this matchup and especially on the slate. Mike, anybody on Mississippi State stand out to you, or are you just going to hang out in the the cheaper parts of this Alabama roster. What are you thinking in this game?
I don't like this game, but
Nope.
if I'm gonna do something crazy, I guess I'm just giving out like disastrous. Like we may just need to cut this into my entire section out of the low tier here, but I'm gonna mention him because it's Jaden Bradley. he's like Ledgy, right? Like most likely going to see 7 minutes, right? With Quinterly and Griffin and Alec. Okay, like we should just have the tape on on repeat whenever we talk about Alabama. But if for some reason in a large field tournament and you just got some lineups, mass multi-entering, and you want to toss in Jaden Bradley, absolutely. Like Mississippi State's tough on defense. Yeah, cheap Alabama. Yeah, figure out the right one, right? And then Bediako, I think, is like 5K, and he's gonna play 16 minutes and watch him go for 25 fantasy points like out of nowhere. It's crazy, right? Like this Alabama team, you can just close your eyes and pin the tail on the 5K to $3,500 player you want to play. So. He was 7-3-7 last time, but he's getting benched a lot because he's turning the ball over. I think he had 4 turnovers in that last matchup that they played. So, but you can get some things done, man. I mean, yeah, that was 20 fantasy points last time they played. So maybe he gets on the court for 20 minutes. Maybe he gives you a 20. Worth the shot in large field, but Jody said there's 27 of them. There literally are. I don't understand how all like. Was it 15 guys or 12 guys in college can be on the court within the first 8 minutes of the game? Like, it's insane. So let's move on. I don't want to talk about Alabama anymore.
Yeah, I think the overarching point, and Jody really encapsulated it. This slate is tricky, right?
Yep.
And part of what makes it so tricky is that the last game we're going to talk about features our price king and also features a 127 point total. That is Rutgers and Purdue. Last time these two faced off, went a little bit higher than that. They put up 129, but we don't have a whole lot to lead us to believe that this is going to be anything close to a shootout. I will start with the aforementioned price king, Zach Edey, coming in at 11.3K. Like you're really wanting 60 plus out of a player that's going to carry a price tag like that. But unlike Brandon Miller, his steady floor is a little bit closer to the mid to upper 40s, and he has paid off 11K price tags in the past. But really, the argument for Zach Edey is there's enough value on the slate to where you can get to him, and you are going to need raw scoring on this slate. So that is really my mentality for Zach Edey. Jay, taking a look at this game, taking a look at some of the mid options. Any of them catching your eye?
Okay, yeah, for Rutgers at 6K flat, 16-8-6 the last time Rutgers played Purdue. It was actually his highest fantasy point total of the season at 43.5. And you're getting him at $700 cheaper than you would have had to pay for him in that spot. Yeah, you look at the game log, 27, 19, 25. But fouled out of that one. So and has been living on the edge with his foul. So that's something to think about here. But at 6K flat, with been over 40 twice this season, one time was against Purdue. Mulcahy's worth a look.
The edge of glory. All right, let's round it out here with this one. Okay. This one pissed me off the other day because I was rage texting you guys. I get it, right? He's starting, but he's not. I mean, okay, I have nothing against the kid. He's not been great. I'm not going to say he's not great.
He was great that one time.
Brandon Newman, what happened? 41. He had like 30 fantasy points by halftime. Ooh. At 50%. How did some of these people that play this have the almanac, and I guess I just don't have it because there is no way. All right, I'm just gonna get off of that last game. So Newman, he's now 4,100, and yeah, he played major minutes, but he's usually a guy that doesn't play major minutes. So, probably a chase spot. 4X like wouldn't surprise me. I guess that's good enough on this slate, right? Like this game is just disgusting. Disgusting. Like could legitimately go under 127. I mean, you got Big Cliff out there. You got Rutgers D. Yeah. So I mean, if you want to play Newman, okay, right? Like I might just be. It sounds weird saying that a game you completely fade, right, with Zach Edey on the board, but Jody mentioned it. It's a tricky slate, right? I need all the dollars I can probably find so I can stay away from the Alabama guys that are cheap, the Brandon Newmans, the DeBouts that are just like, why did he play 35 minutes? Like, I'd rather play safer low-tier guys like Jalil White. Like, give me some Sean McNeil, right? Like, I don't know. So for me, it's like if you want to do it, like go ahead. Congratulations to the 50% of the field. I think I had a nasty little tweet to all of you out there. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I held back. Maybe it's in the drafts. I don't know. But anyway, Brandon Newman, whatever. If you want to play him, fine.
I like it. I like it, man. I mean, yeah, 4X. I mean, because he's living in that 16, 20, 18 range anyway. So you're gonna is 4X the floor here? Like why not, man?
I hate you. Let's just move.
All right.
We will move on to greener pastures, some might say. Green being the color of money, because our guy, the original Money Mike, has been red hot on these betting streets. Mike, looking at the conference play tomorrow, any bets that you are making a priority for your slip?
Yeah, I look at it. Ohio State now going to play their third game, and Michigan State's sitting there -3.5. I kind of like Michigan State here. Give me the points on it. The Rutgers line, man, like +5.5. Like this is going to be an absolute turn on the old Street Fighter game. It's absolutely going to be disgusting. And that kind of makes me like Rutgers to cover, 5.5 here. So, don't mind that. And then, look, anytime I see a total into the 160s, I get it. Like these two teams, Ohio and Toledo, like they have flat out great offensively. There are still 40 minutes in a college basketball game. Therefore, I will take a shot at the under here, because you never know. They might miss a few shots. I don't know, 160 points. That's 162.5. Like, yeah, this game could play into the 80s, absolutely. But, man, like, things have to go right in college basketball. And we've seen it's college athletes we're betting on, right? So, anytime I see a total in the 160s, like, I automatically look for the under. So, that Ohio-Toledo game under 162.5. We'll see if we can't stop them from both shooting 62% from three.
Yeah, definitely tend to agree. 162.5 points is a crazy high line, right? There are so many things that can just get that wobbling a little bit and leave those two teams coming in under that total. So to recap, Ohio and Toledo under 162.5 points. Rutgers +5.5 versus Purdue. Michigan State laying 3.5 points against Ohio State. Money Mike Holland's best bets in those college basketball streets. We will move on to the world-renowned Core Four, and specifically tonight, our Core Four is riddled with guys that are right in Jay's wheelhouse because they are all sitting in that mid category. Jay.
Hey, shout out to Jody because he's talking about, hey, this is perfect because he's talking about the mid right now. You can spend $1 million on E for 50, or you got a bunch of guys in the 5,000, 7,000. So Jay, you and Jody synced up right now.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll go ahead and hit that Core Four right now. We're going to hit with Triple J, not Double J, not JEFFJARRETT Jeff Jarrett, not Double J. We're talking Triple J, Josiah Jordan James, Hyser Miller, Tremon Mark, and Santiago Vescovi. Josiah Jordan James, Hyser Miller, Tremon Mark, Santiago Vescovi, living in the mid range tonight. But Jody, to Jody's point in the chat, to Mike's point just now, living in that mid-tier range might make a whole lot of sense on this slate. Looking at these totals, does it make sense to pay up for a Zach Edey when there's so much value to be had in this mid-tier? Definitely a way to. Edey is overrated. Look at his scores. That when you have
Especially
the 55s and the 48s and the 46s, it's definitely it piques your interest, right? But when you get a total of 127, it's scary. Somebody's going to score
11,300.
Yeah, and it's not even close, right? So you got Edey 11.3. You've got
Brandon Miller, right?
Brandon Miller is next at 9.5K, and nobody else over 9K on this entire slate. You get Kobe Brown there at 8.9, Sasser 8.8, but even then, the value is there to be found in the mid tier.
Yeah, we got some mid kings here for Jay's Core Four. Triple J, Messiah Miller, Tremont Mark, and Santiago Vescovi. Those four combined leave you a cool 5.8K per player remaining. Before we get out of here, Jay, Mike, any kind of overarching thoughts for how you're approaching this slate? I know we've talked a lot about just how deep that mid tier is. Anything to kind of add to that in terms of where you're looking to stack, maybe where you're looking for a spot or two of leverage?
Get weird. Where there's a Triple J, there's a Phillips that we're not expecting. Just being different, right? Like someone else from Rutgers. Why not a lawyer or Smith from things like that. I mean, they tend to pay off, and then you look up at the board and you're like, what the hell? Like 5 of the top 10 scorers are less than 5% owned because no one thought this would happen. Welcome to basically any college betting. Absolutely ridiculousness. So yeah, just make sure you get weird because it's 1,400 teams, right? Like I think that's what we. I mean, you gotta find at least maybe one play that separates you from the rest. So, Jay, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
If you're living in the mid-range like I am, and you, like Eric, you said, you still end up in that 5.8, 5.9K per player after the Core Four, and then you throw a lock-in there, and maybe a Golston in there who's trying to who's on the upward trend, and you're still sitting at like 5,300, 5,400 on average for the remaining players. It's in a good spot. Live in the mid-range tomorrow in this early slate. Yeah, could Edey pay off 11.3K? Jody's mentioned in the comments it's twice all season long that he's paid that off. I'm not in on it, or 2 months, I should say, 2 times in the last 2 months. I'm not in on that. I'm going to live in the mid-tier tomorrow and just hope that everybody hits that fire.
We do have one more question. So first and foremost, it's kind of crazy. I know it's only twice in 2 months, but the fact that anybody's paying off 11.3K is just—it's
so impressive. It's impressive.
He's clearly has the highest upside on the board tomorrow. But I do think he'll probably be kind of popular because there are so few top tier options. But before we get out of here, Mike, Jody wants to know: can anybody from ECU
didn't like my devout 35 minutes? Oh God. No, man. Like I can't, man. Like they scored 57 last time. Oh man.
Hang out with Ludgy. Why not?
Jesus Christ.
The Ludge man.
Let's get out of here.
The great legend.
We will get out of here, but before we do, public service announcement reminder: we're still giving away this jersey tomorrow when we're breaking down the Saturday slate. We will name our winner for this one. We will name our next giveaway item. In order to get involved, get over to Twitter, get Green Screens on Twitter, our pinned tweet up top. That needs to have that little retweet button hit. You need to tag 2 of your buddies, your hoop heads, 2 of your enemies. Really just tag 2 people in general. Any tag 2 people. You can tag Jay. That's fine. Tag 2 people in your retweet. And then get over to YouTube if you're not already hit that subscribe button. And then with regard to this 6-game slate tomorrow, let's get a little bit weird. Let's get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.